Hello again, everybody. My name's Elliot, and I am here speaking with Micah Lewis, the other owner of Moth Moon Tattoo Studio. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
And where's the studio located? I don't believe I asked the other half.
So we're located off the Loop in kind of the shopping area, a little bit after Tesla, kind of where all the car dealerships are. Same shopping center as Sweet Sue's, Tyler Karate Academy, Hawk Security, and I think Texas Wildlife and all those other random places.
Okay. Now, I brought you in here partly to talk about the tattoo business because, I mean, that's the main thing you do. But you also have a very varied background. You said, told me before the interview, you used to be a professional artist. So I wanted to kind of start all the way back and just what got you into art or tattooing, wherever you wanted to start. Just who are you and how did this all develop?
Well, since I was a little kid, I loved drawing. People would buy me coloring books because they were like, "Oh, you're artistic. Here's a coloring book." And what I would do was feel really bored coloring the pictures inside, so I would just draw my own pictures, like on the inside covers, because I preferred drawing more than just doing someone else's
That
work.
that's awesome.
My uncle was a tattoo artist when I did, and I really loved the idea of creating something that lasts with someone that's still artistic. I would like look at his arms every time I saw him, and I would just like touch the newer tattoos, like, wow, this is so cool. It's in your skin, like this is permanent, and that whole idea to me was just really beautiful.
So you were exposed to tattoos from an early age, and you liked that, but you didn't jump into being a tattoo artist right away. You mentioned you started with at just being an artist, and what did that journey look like?
So I really actually did attempt to jump into tattooing pretty early. The tattoo industry is kind of a weird one, especially for women to be a part of and to get involved in. For the longest time, women weren't really respected in this industry. They weren't taught as like well as they would teach a male. So women in general have always had trouble getting in this industry, and then once they're established, they're not going anywhere. And I know a lot of it's changing, but the first apprenticeship I had was with a guy that was kind of still in that old school mindset. And he was someone who wanted to take advantage of me instead of actually teach me anything. So I had to quit. And then I got another apprenticeship, and that's what moved us to Tyler. And that apprenticeship, the guy I think was just going through a lot at the time, and it wasn't a safe environment for me to be in, so I was forced to
Hmm.
quit again. And so then at that point, I was just really frustrated. All these men were letting me down, and it was just something I wanted to do. I just wanted to tattoo. And so I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm just going to make art full time. I'm just going to love what I do regardless of the medium, because really tattooing that's all it is. It's just another medium of art. It's another way to create. It's like watercolor or oil or
Hmm.
pencil or tattooing. So what I focused on was making art full time. So I had a solo show at the Foundry Gallery. Opportunities just kept kind of falling into my lap. After that, I had an installation at Rose Social Kitchen, and then I did a mural at El Wapo Records downtown, which is now Ridiculously Good Brands and Threads. And then from there, I did a couple murals at Truvine, and then I did the mural on the back of Strata Cafe. And then at that point, I had also started curating art shows. So I helped a friend start one that was at Truvine called Inktober, where a bunch of artists were asked to make drawings based on a topic for every day throughout October. And then we presented it as an art show at the end of October. And then I curated Flora Fauna, which was at the Foundry Coffee House Gallery. It was me and I think like 28 other artists involved. We had an insane turnout for our opening, and we even made the front page of the Tyler newspaper.
Oh, wow.
Then at that point, I had run into Sam somewhere. We had known each other through a mutual friend. He wasn't really aware of all the situations I had been through. Jokingly said, "Hey, quitter." And I said, "Quitter? Are you kidding me?" And I kind of like gave him a quick run through, like, I did not quit. I was kind of forced into this. All these people were letting me down. I wanted nothing other than a tattoo. And he was like, "Oh, well, I'll finish your training." And I was like, "Okay." So Sam helped me finish my training, and then shortly after, we decided kind of the direction that we wanted to do was more of a private studio instead of just a walk-in shop. So then we opened Moth Moon Tattoo, and here I am.
And that's say la vie.
Sorry. Oh.
No worries. So that's very interesting. That Sam talked a bit about the fact that it is a private shop, which doesn't really cater to walk-ins, but is kind of appointment only. Which is funny. Another person I'm going to be bringing on to interview, his name is Josh, and he lives in my neighborhood, and he is a deputy of Smith County, who, not knowing this, walked in the middle of a tattoo session. And he says they all looked at me really weird, so I slowly closed the door after they told me it's by appointment only, and I felt weird. So we laughed.
Tell him we're sorry. We're both like introverted people, and so when someone catches us off guard and like opens the door, we're like, "Who is it?"
Don't worry.
Us every time.
I've got you. He's self-quarantining right now. But I already told him about it, and already chatted. So that's all good. He saw some of the tattoos that you did, and he is very interested in chatting further with you and Sam.
Awesome.
So that's interesting. Just to touch on a little bit, just a brief thing. What exactly happens during a tattoo apprenticeship? You obviously know how to use needles. You obviously know how to draw. There's a lot of people who don't know what else there is.
So my advice when someone says like, "Hey, I want to be a tattoo artist," my advice is always just like a really like an anxious place, because it was so hard for me and so gut-wrenching in so many ways, that I'm always like, there are so many levels of preparedness that you have to have before you accept that kind of thing. Like, hey, maybe don't plan to have kids within the time that you're going to be apprenticing or in the first couple of years you're establishing, because once you add kids in the mix, it's a lot. And then because
that's right, your husband and your kid
an apprenticeship is
inside taking a nap right now, I believe.
Yes. They have it real easy right now with quarantine. They're just chilling, and I'm walking around the house in anxious mess.
Oh.
But so an apprenticeship is an unpaid gig, so you're working full-time hours without being paid. So a lot of the times you'll see tattoo apprentices, begging for scraps of the other artist's food, or
Oh,
just
wow.
yeah. So it's rough. I say, like, make sure you have some savings ready for it. And then as far as what your daily life looks like in an apprenticeship, kind of depends on who you're working under, but for the most part, you're going to do a lot of cleaning, which cleaning is something that you have to get used to anyway, because it's going to be a good portion of your job in order to protect yourself and your clients from contamination of any kind. And you have to know your bloodborne pathogens kind of things. But, sweeping, mopping, dusting, regular upkeep, cleaning the bathrooms. And then on top of that, you're going to have to learn to set up stations. People in other shops have to, oh my gosh, I'm sorry, a really cute dog just drove by. Wow. So you'll have to set up people's stations, so you have to prepare them for their day. So you set out like all the little things that they need, and everybody has a different preference of what they want where and how they want it set up, and you have to memorize that. On top of that, what they're doing for the day depends on how their setup is going to look like, and those are things that you have to learn as well. there's an age gap between me and Sam and how much the industry has changed since then. So when Sam was apprenticing, he had to scrub tubes, which are like the metal part that the needle sits inside of. So they used those and autoclaved them. So back in the day, you'd have to sit there and just scrub those clean and kind of babysit the autoclave. They would also have to make their own needles, which now it's pretty standard to just get cartridges, which is a way simpler way to tattoo. You just take this little piece off, it has your needle in it, you set it down, you pick up the other needle you need, change it instead of having to set up like 32 machines for all the stuff you need. You do a lot of drawing,
Wow.
which coming from someone who did art full time before they finished an apprenticeship, you kind of have to reprogram yourself on the type of work that you're going to be drawing. You have to draw things that are tattooable. So a lot of what you do when you first start actually tattooing is going to be stuff that has bold lines, because they're just something that you have to have established in order to get any further. That's the first step in when you're actually tattooing, is line work, line work, line work, line work.
Wow, you make it sound like
You,
like quite a journey. Like from the outside, you don't get to see a lot of this.
I think a lot of people expect to come into an apprenticeship and just like chill on a couch and crack jokes with everybody and, you know, maybe go on a food run and, you know, maybe make some art. But there's so much more involved in what you have to do that
Yep.
the outside view of it is just so off. There's so
There's
much
a
hard
lot.
work you have.
As I to not to interject, but as an anecdotal thing, in a past life, I did acrobatics, magic, juggling, and I apprenticed to a magician, a great magician juggler. He's the French mime that I trained under. His name's Arsène. And a lot of people are like, man, I really wish I could train underneath him, or I could have him mentor me. And they don't really understand what that means. They in the magic world, they ignore you. Like the person that's mentoring you ignores you most of the time. They say, then you show them a trick, and
So
they're like,
bad.
okay, this is good. This is how to do it better. That was pretty bad. So practice this. You need to get this clean. Read this book, watch these videos, watch what they're doing, and I'll chat with you again next week. And then during that week, you're sweeping the stage, you're cleaning up all the props, you're setting up the show, you're helping them pack. Like there's a lot of just picking up the suitcase and carrying it for somebody else, but knowing that they're going to teach you along the way because they've done it, they've had the same path, and they're saying, here's the next step on your
Right.
journey. Okay.
You taking the time to do all of the little things that they would do on their daily basis frees them up so that they can teach you. So you taking on those small tasks gives them more time that they can actually focus on you.
And sometimes it's only the person saying, okay, that was really bad, and you flashed. Nope, you flashed. Nope, you messed that up. No, you did that. Nope, like this. Okay, that was better. Practice it. Do it like 100 more times. I'll see you after the show. I'm like, oh, okay, all right, I
Yeah.
got it. And then honestly,
Self-esteem.
I mean, well, you have to be kind of stubborn, and you need to kind of thin skin to perform. But even then, it's like here, he would pay me, and it would basically cover gas to get to the fair and little else. I was expected to go out and do shows, and what I always say is suck till the suck is gone, and just go out there, like mess up all the shows, make all the mistakes you're going to, because you're not going to learn otherwise. So I was expected to do all that and help him and learn. And I've noticed with a lot of apprenticeships, there's a lot of a lot of dichotomy that's going on. Like they just seem to mirror each other in that way. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so to beyond the tattoo studio, I understand you're also involved in uh,
Sorry.
other ventures, art ventures, East Texas Creatives, and other groups. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I'm one of the admins for ETX Creatives. It's a group where we just try to give artists more opportunities in East Texas, whether that's through art shows or workshops and things. Typically in the summer, we focus on workshops. We'll have guest artists come and teach a skill set. And then, throughout the year, we'll just have a couple of art shows, and those involve poetry readings and live music and art installations, things like that, just to encourage arts in East Texas, where I think there's kind of a weird, uneducated, maybe is the right term.
No, I understand what you're saying. My lady's an artist too, and she says that it's a very specific kind of art that people in East Texas want. And sometimes I remember her sitting down and spending several hours making a cover of a music label, and that's what people want. And so there's, especially in East Texas, she says there's a lot of grind. There's a lot of 12-hour days of just putting out the art that you know is going to sell, not the art that you want to do personally.
Yes, I have said multiple times before, I don't feel like East Texas is my true cup of tea. While I do have people here that love me and support me, I feel like I make art and they just look at it and they're like, neat. And they don't get the emotion behind it or anything involved with it.
Over with my family over in Rhode Island, I start talking to them about online marketing and how cool. And I'm just like, hey, using this tool, Neo4j, I can figure out which node is the most important in this network of things. And they go, that's neat. So what do you want for dinner? And I'm like, oh, food. And then you just feel awkward. But it's true, because a lot of people, especially not to jump onto another soapbox, but a lot of people don't see what the sheer amount of work that artists do. They do pull 12-hour days of their hands are sore from the chemicals that might be on them. They are tired of staring at a painting. They just want it to be done. Oh, and by the way, they haven't even started working on what the pieces that they need for the showing that they're going to be doing a week from now.
Yeah.
And
oh yeah, there's a lot behind the scenes. Yeah. There were many nights, especially like as a mom, that I would finally get my kid to bed, and then I would just be hunched over my desk with a hairbrush, paintbrush, just fine lines, like tiny little stuff, just hunched over until probably like 4 a.m. And then she'd wake up a couple hours later and we'd start it all over again.
Oh,
so
man.
yeah, there's a lot involved.
You poor lady. I'm sorry to hear that, but it's the only way that you could make it really work, because you certainly can't do it when you have somebody bouncing around you like that.
Yeah, no, my child is way too crazy for that.
The sheer panic in your eyes as you imagined what that looked like. It was just like, no. So ETX is very interesting, and I hope to speak with them rather soon. Is it a very large group? Is it still growing? Has it been successful in promoting the arts in East Texas, do you say?
We've had like huge turnouts to just our one night installation openings. And then we partnered with Work Hub, so we've had art available to view there for longer periods of time, where we would just have like an opening and it would be like kind of like a big party, and then the art was still available for the people that go into Work Hub to enjoy daily. So we've kind of showed up and shown out and kind of made a point to people like, yeah, there is an artist community here. We can care about each other. It's not competition. We can help each other. We can build each other up, and we can support each other. And I think those were things that were really lacking in East Texas before we started.
I know that my lady actually grew up here in Tyler and felt a lot of that, and had a lot of opportunities outside of Tyler, and it made her sad that in order to be successful at her chosen career, she was going to have to leave the area that she grew up in. And it's not like a big choice. It came down to like strictly monetary concerns, a career. Who do I want to be? How do I want my career to go? And I think that's a kind of good transition. So about 3 weeks ago, the COVID hit. as I like to say. So how has that affected your work, whether ETX Creative or Moth and Moon?
So,
Were you
I have a
personally?
6-year-old. I've not had COVID that I know of, so there's a win. And I think the biggest thing for me right now is that my kiddo is out of school. She just started kindergarten this year, and now she's out of school. So they're starting an online learning program that they have to do. And with a kid who can't read fluently by themselves or really operate a computer really well, it's a lot more hands-on than I think I was prepared to experience. And so my main focus right now is just taking care of her and making sure she gets the learning that she needs. In the meantime, financially, because what my husband's job is, he's not gonna have to stay home for long periods of time or anything like that. Um, there's no risk of him, losing hours or anything like that. It's a federally required job. So
What does he
in
do?
that aspect, he is an electric systems operator. I honestly don't know what my husband does. But I do know he says all the time he monitors voltage on the power lines. And he has told me that he hates squirrels, and I think it's because squirrels take out power lines all the time.
Yes,
But
they certainly do. Rogue squirrels can shut
yeah,
off an entire block of electricity.
yeah. So because of what his job is and the importance of it, so if we have rolling blackouts, they're the ones that keep power running in Texas, so it's not like a total blackout and restart kind of thing. So his job is needed. So that's taken a lot of pressure off of me to feel like I have to support in any way financially. So I'm taking this time to actually take care of my kiddo and take care of myself in a mental health kind of artistic way, if that makes sense. So I've started doing a lot of projects for myself. Um,
It absolutely makes sense. A lot of people, it's not like let's say a birdhouse where you just follow instructions and you put it together. You are the vehicle and you are the engine, and your creativity is the fuel that you use to get from one place to another. And just like anything, like a cell phone, you need time to recharge.
yeah. So I love tattooing. I miss it every second that I'm not at the shop. Like without the COVID, I would schedule myself a day off because I'm like, I really need a day off. And then I would sit at home going, I wish I was tattooing.
Yeah.
And I would, I'd be like, I'd talk to my husband, be like, hey, Jeremy, do you want a tattoo? Like, it's
Oh,
like, I have to do it. I love it so much. So that part is sad for me. I've threatened a couple times, like, I'm just going to go to the shop and tattoo myself. Uh,
you're
which I
right.
might still end up doing. But mainly the art that I'm making right now is no pressure. I don't have to communicate to people that aren't necessarily my cup of tea. So I don't have to make something that's Tyler appropriate. I don't have to make something that will sell. I don't have to do anything like that. I'm just making art to get it out of my system. Tattooing is a lot of collaborative work. So a client will say I want a bird. And I'm like, okay, here's a bird. And then they're like, yay, I love the bird. And so
Yeah.
but out of my own, if I had my own choice, would I have drawn a bird that day? Probably not. But that's the beautiful thing about tattooing, is that it's a collaboration. I'm helping you bring your ideas to life. But when it comes to this time where I'm going to be off, I'm making art for me. I think that's the healthiest thing that I can do right now to keep myself from going crazy.
Right. Perfect. What about all the since you're a private tattoo shop, which is like by appointment only? What are you doing for all the people who had appointments?
So I stopped booking appointments for the end of March, and I had started booking appointments for after April 1st. That was when kind of my kiddo was supposed to be back at school and everything was
That's
supposed to die
supposed to be. I
down.
like
But
that.
since
Yeah.
everything's just kind of getting a little crazier, I've just kept an open communication with all of my clients, just let them know like, hey, I probably don't know much more than you at this point, so we're going to push it back a couple of weeks. And everyone's been super chill about it. I haven't had anyone upset with me, although in my heart I feel so bad because I hope they all know that I just want to tattoo them so bad.
Right. I can tell it comes out. Your hands are shaking at times. You're just like, I just want to. They don't know that the handshakes isn't from withdrawal. It's actually how you stabilize the needle that's vibrating in your hand. You just vibrate asynchronously. So,
Sorry, I'm waving at neighbors when they walk by.
well, I can understand. I like the poster behind you. It makes you seem like you have bunny ears the whole time. That's right.
Oh, I didn't even think about it.
Yep. You have it.
There we go.
You'll be able
I'm
to
at
see it.
Disneyland.
So, if that's what you're doing for folks that can come in, I guess, what can the rest of the community do to support you? I know that you, like you said, you're not worried financially. I know a lot of other tattoo shops are. Sam mentioned some of the things that he's doing. What can somebody do to support you or the tattoo industry or just other small businesses? What do you think?
I think it's important to remember that COVID or not, if you can't financially support someone that you appreciate what they create, there are things that you can do that help them out a lot. You can share their posts, like their posts, comment on their posts, bring traffic to it, tag a couple friends, be like, wow, check out this painting. It's super sweet. Um, as far as small businesses, look up how you can support them right now with places like Moss. They do porch pickup right now. So my kiddo and I, for an activity yesterday, picked up some flowers and made small arrangements together. Moon Rivers is another place downtown. They have bath and body stuff. So I was able to run by there, buy some incense, and then get some hand sanitizer because they make some, and it's freaking awesome. Way to support a community instead of like some big company that makes hand sanitizer. And then, a lot of places are doing curbside, so you can pick up drinks or food from places like that. I know financially right now it's really hard, and people are starting to kind of consider like, oh, this might be a big thing. This might be like a little bit longer than we thought it would. How am I going to do this financially?
Something that people don't think about. I agree with you with when it comes to local businesses. Local restaurants is a big thing because anybody who's worked in the restaurant, I have several clients that are restaurateurs and they own several. And a lot of people don't understand like the way that cash flow works within the restaurant system, like how much is coming in and then going out, how much of expenditure ends up going to waste, like how much of that, like, and it's real. Those are certainly machines that run by just running constantly. So another thing to think about is franchises. There are some people who own multiple franchises. There are also people who license and get into a franchise that this is their first business. This is the business. So there are some local shops that, yes, they're well-known brands, but they are owned by individual people
Someone
right
here. Yeah.
here.
And I think a lot of people want to skip that over because they think like, oh, well, Chipotle, that it's a big corporation, but there's a family at the very base of that is running
Yeah,
that.
that's
And I
exactly
think
who
it's
I was thinking
important.
of, actually.
Hey,
Yeah,
I keep getting
it's
ads. They're
free.
like free delivery right now. And I'm like, I really
That's
want a
right.
burrito bowl.
No, it's true, and I've reached out and I've personally chatted with some of them. There are a lot of small restaurants, and even looking at the supermarkets. If you go to a local supermarket, because again, like you said, at the base of that there is a family. All their employees also have a family. There are going to be many large corporations that are going to be fine, and I don't want to say down. I'm certainly not one to say, "Hey, big business bad," because I disagree with that. Many of my clients
Right.
are big business and household names that where I can't say it right here. It's not that I'm against big business. It's that what we're looking at is not a lack of money. It's going to be a slowdown of the economy, and that occurs when people pass money back and forth between each other, like on a grand scale. So yes, every time you
Oh,
pay for a
hey,
local, yes.
I have 2%. I have 2% on my phone. Can we pause for just a second while I go get my charger?
You got it. Hey, Destiny, I am pausing the video here. This is a place that needs to be cut out. Destiny, Destiny, Destiny. There.
Go for it.
So, what kind of advice would you give to local business owners or artists or other people? You and I have both worked on the artistic side of things. Me as performance, you as several different mediums in the past. What kind of advice would you give to local businesses, to artists specifically? And what I always ask at this point is, please give advice that only you can give. The only somebody who has taken your particular journey would be. Like, what would you do as an artist at this point if you weren't at a tattoo shop or like an established?
Um, I think that artists are very fragile people most of the time. So I think in a time like this, it's important to take care of yourself. Don't just think about how, you know, how you can like hit that grind, make money or whatever. Sure, have those ventures, do some things like that, but don't make that your only focus, because I think that will just drive you crazy, especially in isolation. And as far as like business owners, let people know how they can support you. I'm sure a ton of people don't realize, like, hey, sharing my post might help me, you know? I think
Right.
it's kind of, I, I think it's just not necessarily common sense to think like, if I like this picture that someone posted today, they might get more followers because they'll look at they'll look at what I've liked, and having more followers and something like that, someone might see something they like. They might go, oh, let me order from their website. So I think,
And actually, a bit to jump into the marketing side, Facebook uses something that we like to say called like metrics. The more likes, the more followers you have. It's actually part of a ranking algorithm. So the more you have, the larger the snowball goes, and the greater the likelihood that it will bleed off into other people's, I guess I'd say streams, live streams, their walls, their stories. It'll
yeah,
bleed off. And so one little like may be the difference, may not seem like much, but it may be the difference between not you, but somebody close to you seeing that and ordering it from, say, 3 states away. Like there's
right.
all sorts of things.
Yeah, I've done my best to, like, if there's an artist that I really love, I'm like, you know what, I can't spend a ton of money, but I can at least buy a sticker from them. So I'll like order, a $4 sticker. And that $4 is probably, I always think like maybe they were able to make their water bill this month by $4 and I was able to help out. So, just the smallest of bit. I mean, think of how many other people thought, I'll just order one sticker because that's all and then they were able to eat today.
As a last little anecdotal
There's a
thing. Oh, go on, please.
I was gonna say, there are websites right now, and this is for the creative people. I'll have to try and find a couple of them, but I know that you can, if you have an Etsy or a Shopify, you can look up Printful. You don't have to buy the merchandise. People can buy it and it goes directly. They like Printful makes the item and ships it to the person for you. That way you don't have to have stock sitting in your home waiting for people to buy stuff. There's a couple of websites kind of like that. Just kind of get searching, find creative ways to make merchandise or things that people can, like small things people can support you with without you having to spend a lot of overhead. Because with Printful, you don't really have to spend any money. They'll make the images of the products for you, and you can just put them on your Etsy and just call it a day.
I was actually going to say something that almost exactly mirrors that from my fiance. Yeah, my fiance. She writes a lot of books, and when everything happened, it's on Amazon, and if you can order a paperback, Amazon prints it up and ships it out from there. Amazon's not shipping out third-party things. Not everybody has the mental fortitude, we'll say. To every artist out there, I greatly respect you. You do is absolutely amazing. Just it is from somebody who has done it, realized how hard it was, struggled up a couple of mountains, just what you do every day is fantastic. But even then, it's things like that. Amazon will print it. So when everything came out, seeing sales for her how to grow and how to grow ginseng book, or a book on just how different alcoholic cocktails you can make with herbs like chamomile, like seeing those sales came in. It wasn't the money that was it so much as it was that boost, that morale boost, and how heartening it was to see, hey, people actually like this thing that I spent hours upon hours upon hours working on.
Yeah.
And to other people, it's just a book. But yeah, purchase a little book. It doesn't matter if it's $1 Kindle edition on Amazon, and somebody you might know did it, or purchasing a sticker, like you said, that $4. If they take that $4, they're like, this thing that I worked on and spent the time uploading, it means something to somebody. So that $4 is worth more than that $4.
More than just the $4. It's that encouragement to keep them going, to like say like, wow, they like me. They really like me. You know, it gives that person hope in a time of, I think, just stress and depression, I think is what a lot of people are probably going to feel through a lot of this.
Well, there's lots of things we can do. I know with my friends, I recently floated having a Zoom meeting dinner where we all cook dinners and just kind of hang out and play a game. So
I
I'm
already
doing
told
what
you,
I
man,
can.
I'll make some mashed potatoes. It'll be great. You won't know what they taste like, but I'll just describe them the best I can.
Well then, all right. Do you have any last words before I wrap this interview up?
I can't really think of any.
Oh, there
Stay
is one
strong,
thing.
people.
There is one thing I wanted to say to all those creatives out there. I understand, and if you ever have any questions about online marketing or something, I will happily hop onto the phone and just talk with you for free. I just want to make sure that everybody can take care of themselves, and I really just want to put the word out, especially since there's so much misinformation out there. I mean, I'm sitting at home, just like everybody else, doing these interviews. So, all right, fantastic. Thank you very much, Micah. And I'll chat with you for a couple minutes afterwards.
Okay,
Bye.
cool.